What's going on, everybody? This is a long overdue edition, but we're back with a new episode of The Outsider's Edge. We will have two special editions for you this week. So the first one is a Golden Lovers special. I'm here with my brother, my partner in crime, well, my other partner in crime, Mr. Kyle Morris. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me back on the show. Shout out to Carl for letting me fill in again.
Well, you say thanks for letting you back on the show. You practically part of the show now, anyway.
I mean, yeah, but it's still a formality.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. So scheduling is a bitch. We all have busy schedules. Carl is the only one of the three of us with. Well, I have kids, but he has a family. It's a big difference, right? So he will have an episode with me and him later on this week. We'll talk more of your standard WWE fare, more of your standard Outsiders Edge, uh, outtakes and thought process and whatnot. But Kyle and I have decided to give you a little something different. So we're not gonna really talk main roster WWE. We're kind of give you a little bit of the extra stuff. We're gonna talk some Ring of Honor. We're gonna talk some NXT, and probably the biggest thing going on in the eyes of the IWC right now. We're gonna talk some G1. Um, Kyle's gonna basically walk me through a lot of this, but yeah, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna kind of try to give you something different and have a little fun with it. So before we start, anything you want to say to the people, man?
Um, Only thing I want to say about a mildly current issue is, man, fuck Hulk Hogan and Jerry Lawler. I don't want nothing to do with either one of them. I know they are both legends, and I will never take away what they've both done for the business of professional wrestling. But they're both assholes, and I ain't got time for their racist shit in 2018.
Yeah, I concur. I will expound more upon that on my episode with Carl, but I effectively agree with you. But there is a caveat I have, but I kind of want to let that be the tease.
All
Uh,
right, I anxiously await your caveats.
yeah, there is a caveat. Um, I wouldn't be me if there wasn't, right?
No, like I don't mind them being in the Hall of Fame. Like I'm not trying to erase what they've done for the business of wrestling. I just don't ever want to see them on my fucking TV again.
That's where I'm at. Hogan isn't a rapist or a killer. He's a racist who is just a ignorant bigot. But effectively, he didn't physically hurt anybody. He killed all of our hearts and offended all of us, right? All of that, sure. But I don't think what he did is so bad to diminish his accomplishments. So I don't think he should be taken out of the Hall of Fame. Him being reinstated in the Hall of Fame is fine with me as long as he's never he's never promoted anymore. Like I don't ever want to see him on TV. I don't want to see him out there working with no charities, at least not under the WWE name. I don't want to see him be promoted as an employee of the company. Being in the Hall of Fame, absolutely, he's supposed to be there. That's it.
Yeah, he
That's
was
it.
a legend, and he forever slammed Andre in WrestleMania 3, one of the biggest moments in the history of the business.
There
Like,
is no business without
take
him, to
that
be
away.
honest.
Like, yeah, like you can't take any of that away from him. But like, I'm not trying to see him be the GM of Raw or
No,
like come back to feud with a McMahon again or any of that shit.
anything. I don't. If he wants to work with the Special Olympics or Susan J. Coleman, any of that, do that on your own dime, bro. Do not be promoted by WWE. I like that's the thing. I don't think he should ever quote unquote work for them again. But I'll get more of that later on. But I just want to let you know that I'm kind of on your side. We basically feel the same way. But I wanted to start this off because I asked you a question, and it's funny. It was funny as hell to me your response. But I wanted to know well, okay. So we everybody watched Extreme Rules, right? We saw the bump that Kevin Owens took in homage to 20 years ago Foley taking not the same bump, but
Yeah, Foley didn't have an airbag to break his fall.
absolutely. But it was an homage nonetheless. So I asked you, Kyle, and we also laughed about Ronda Rousey beating the holy hell out of Mickey and Alexa. So I asked you, if you had your choice, if you were a wrestler and you showed up to the arena and you had three choices that night of what you could do. The first choice is have a death match with Necro Butcher, the Necro Butcher. Two, have a cage match with Braun Strowman where you get thrown off the cage in a fashion much like Foley or Owens did. Or three, have a shoot fight, have a shoot style fight is wrestling. So it's not going to be fully real, but shoot style fight with Ronda Rousey. What would you pick?
Man, I'm gonna let Braun throw me like a lawn dart. I don't have a fucking death wish. Worst thing that happens to me if Braun Strowman throws me off the cage, I miss the table and break some bones. I've had knee surgery. I can handle another one. That's life. I value the use of both hands entirely too much to have a death match with Necro Butcher or a shoot fight with Ronda Rousey.
The boy say
I
he.
ain't with that shit.
That boy say I'll take the time off. I'll take the injury and take the time off.
I'm bigger than Ronda. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm a grown man and blah blah blah. Ronda's a fucking machine. She would beat my ass.
We laugh at Ronda stand up because she's terrible at stand up and MMA. But don't forget, guys, she's terrible against the best strikers in the world. If it was me or Kyle, and I think I got some hands, I ain't no boxer or nothing, but I can hold my own. Ronda would beat our ass, and then she rip her arm out of socket, and then she'll laugh at us.
That's the thing. Like, ask these girls. If you don't connect on that first punch, she's gonna grab your arm and she's gonna break it.
And let's not forget that she's not a gold medalist, but she's an Olympic medalist in judo. She's a judoka master.
Yeah,
So yeah,
like, and you know what? All the respect in the world to Mickey James right now because Mickey James is taking some savage throws.
in heels, dog, in stilettos,
Like,
in
just,
stilettos.
damn. Mrs. Aldis for the win.
I love what's up. I love what people are calling her new character as divorced mom cosplay.
You know, Mickey's happily married to the NWA World Champion for another, like,
Sure,
days.
but if you shut up, man, for another few days. If you look at her standing next to Alexa, doesn't she look like Alexa's single mom who decided to come out and party with the daughter that night?
To me, she looks like one of them characters from that country show, Nashville.
Well,
Like, one of them, like, sleazy country singers that's
Connie
just,
Britton.
like,
Connie Britton.
out for a night on the town.
Well, that's very apropos because she's a country singer and she's sang at I think she sang at the Grand Ole Opry, but that's very apropos. Yes. Um, but I just found that funny as hell
She's
that you,
almost, like, cougar aged.
dog, it's hilarious because you was like, throw me off that bitch like a lawn dart. I was dying when you told me
Dude, like, it's the only sensible option. Necro Butcher wanted to cut his fucking finger off in a match.
that. Dog, have you heard the story?
I don't need to hear the story
Dog,
because that's some crazy ass Foley shit.
no, that's not, no, Foley would never cut a appendage off, right?
I don't know. He let that dude bite his ear off.
Well, that was actually an accident, but he just went with it.
Yeah, yeah.
This dude said he wants to cut his finger off because he thought he could put it in some ice, go to the hospital, and have it reattached. The
That's fine.
forethought to think about all
That's fine.
this.
Your immune system accepts it.
But what I'm saying is, it's not only did he want to do the crazy spot, but he had rationalized it because he had already figured out a way to get out of it. Like that's the craziness, and I say crazy with the absolute utmost respect, right? Because I don't want that dude popping in my house and fighting. And by everybody's stories or admissions, he is essentially like a genuine Mensa ass genius. So I'm not trying to diss the dude or nothing, but that's not my life, dog.
Nope.
That's
Quite
that's not for
possibly the
me.
only thing scarier than that is having to stare down an army of Tongans.
So okay, do you want to get into the Tongan thing or do you want to get into All In? Because we're
I mean, I feel like they go hand in hand. So, like,
essentially, yeah.
let's start. You know what? Let's start with the All In news. So we were talking about Necro Butcher.
Yes.
So we were talking about death matches.
Yes.
Who do we know that is All In that also has a bit of a history with some death matches.
He's a bad boy. Yo, Joey Janela's starting off the show at All In, dog. Like I'm
That's a hot open.
you
Him
you're
and Penelope, that is a hot open.
you're the All In guy. Like I'll catch it, but I'm not as hot on it as you are. You know, I'm WWE Homer, all this, that, and the other. But that's lit, like as the kids would say, because he is going to set their place on fire to start that show. And they're
I'm
already gonna be hot. The crowd's
for,
gonna be hot, Kyle. He's gonna set that bitch on fire when he come out.
well, I'm really looking forward to seeing who they put him with
That's a good. That's a
in
good.
this
That's a good
match.
question. Yeah. Who would you from everybody that's been announced? Who would you throw him out to just off the top of your head?
I mean, I don't. I, maybe Marty. No, wait, Marty's playing Okada. I
Okada.
keep forgetting that Marty is facing Okada because it just is
Doesn't make
not
any
a match
sense.
I put together in my head.
It doesn't make any
I think it'll
sense.
be a great match, but I just keep forgetting that he's doing it. I mean, they're planting the seeds like he might be going against the Bucks. The Bucks don't have an officially announced opponent yet.
Yeah, but that'll
I don't know
that'll be
if
one
they
of the
want
main
to curtain
events.
joke their own show.
I'll throw a name out for you. Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Oh yeah, MJF would be a really good opponent. They could do well since MJF and I think it was Madison Rain, right?
Whoever his
What?
valet is. It might be Madison. I don't remember who.
No, I don't think it's like his assigned valet, but just to get all in, the two of them beat
Okay. Oh
Flip
yeah.
Andy in the
And
tag
Brandon.
match.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, if they got booked as a unit, you could do the two of them versus Joey and Penelope.
Works for me. It makes sense. It makes
Yeah, and
perfect
that would
sense.
be a cool little intergender match to start the show. And, the crowd is definitely going to be hyped for Joey,
Oh my
especially after
God.
spring break was such a success this year.
But then, the one thing I appreciate about Joey is Joey is one of those guys that will kill himself just to get the crowd, not just to pop, but to get the crowd where he wants them to be. And I don't want him to do that, but you got to respect the guy that's willing to do that, right? Like
Yes.
we just talked about Kevin Owens basically like sacrificing himself for the good of the company and of the match and of all and for Braun and everything. Like Joey Janela's come from the same cloth that he will sacrifice whatever it takes for the good of the show and for the good of the match and for the good of the spot and for the good of the wrestler he's doing the spot with. Like he will lay it all on the line for that, and you got to respect that.
He's always ready to do business. And
Absolutely.
there's something to be said for someone who's always ready to do business.
And he is the WWE champion still, so that's something.
Well, and I think, if he's still got the belt, I think the cool thing about the way that they're doing this show is I think they want those guys to parade these titles and like expose some of these indie federations as much as possible.
Yeah, why wouldn't they? That makes perfect sense. I don't know if he would defend it, but
Oh no,
yeah.
I'm not saying he's defending it, but just like bringing the bell, drawing attention to the bell, like
Well,
giving the announce team the opportunity to plug the federations that these guys are working for.
speaking of announced team, did you see the announcement for the announced team?
I did see the announcement for the announce team. Now, one thing I got to say for this show is they've really done a great job of making both their Twitter feed and BTE like if you're going to be at All In, you need to be keeping up with both. If,
Basically, yeah.
yeah, if you want to know what the fuck's going on, you need to be keeping up with both.
It's a real grassroots type movement deal.
Yeah. So they announced they announced 6 people for basically seven for the production team. It looks like the announcers are gonna be Ian and
Excalibur, and Excalibur.
Oh, and Excalibur, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the ring announcers are gonna be the Ring of Honor guy and Justin Roberts.
Bobby Cruz.
Bobby Cruz, that's his name. I can never remember his name. I just remembered Justin Roberts. I was like, oh shit, Justin Roberts still announcing?
Justin Roberts getting that payday, bro. Whatever way he can get paid, he gonna do it.
You know what? Good for Justin.
I ain't mad at him.
I ain't mad at anybody for keeping their hustle game strong.
As an announcer, get your hustle on, dog, because that's not a job that seems to be in demand. But do your thing, big dog. And Alicia Atout, the girl from
Impact.
Impact now, but she did Ambi, whatever that is. And
I don't know what that is. I just know she works for Impact now, and I think she's gonna do like
backstage
segments, like the Renee Young role.
right, and your boy from old school WWF, Sean Mooney is the other guy.
Yes, yes, they're gonna be doing the backstage stuff. So
If it's one thing I have to give credit to the Bucks and the Cody for, is that they are treating this like it is the biggest event ever. I give them like I looked at the rundown of Starcast and they got it on Fight TV and they already have the package up. You can buy the whole package for everything for 149.99
and
and
well, and they're starting to promote it within the Ring of Honor stuff, like during
yeah,
their backstage promos in between matches and shit. They're starting to talk about all in this, all in that. They got the big match on Friday because, once again, Ring of Honor doing big shows on a Friday because that's
they should.
apparently what the fucking do.
Yeah.
But they got Flip Gordon going up against Nick Aldis for the NWA title.
Can we talk about that for a second? Can we talk about
Oh,
that for a second?
of course we can.
So I think
We
everybody
NWA champion Flip Gordon.
well yeah, right. That's the only thing that makes sense. I think everybody assumed that that would be where they had to go, right? Because it only makes sense. Cody doesn't want Flip on the show. Book Flip, the T-shirt, everybody making fun of him. Flip isn't officially a member of the BTE show. All this. It only makes sense. My question to you is it too is it like it feels too set in stone. Like I feel like we might get swerved and Aldis might win.
I mean,
It just because it feels too
you're right.
orchestrated for those guys.
No, you're right. Like all of the elements are in place for there to be some kind of a crazy swerve, and I mean, I won't be surprised if there is one because I just feel like Brandy is gonna somehow be involved when Flip finally gets all in because like they've been putting so much energy into that like Brandy and Flip friendship shit to just not make anything of it at all.
Yeah.
Um, so like I wouldn't be surprised if we got swerved, but I mean if we don't get swerved, I'm also still down for the inevitable Cody versus Flip match for the NWA title because I'm just cool with that.
Oh, so whichever way it happens, you are adamant that Flip walks out as NWA champ.
Um, no, like no, that's not what I mean. I mean like if it doesn't happen, I won't be shocked, but if it does happen, I'll still be very much looking forward to that match.
See, I'm
Like,
still
if it doesn't happen, I think Flip faces Rey Mysterio.
I'm still of the belief. Call me crazy. I just have no interest in seeing Cody Rhodes. I'm sorry, Cody and Nick Aldis. There's nothing about that interests me. Titles or not, I don't care. There's nothing about that interests me. I get the whole allure of Cody trying to get the butt his dad had. That's cool. I don't care about Nick Aldis at all. That's no disrespect to Nick Aldis because he's a really good performer. I don't care about him. I don't care about the NWA. I
To
don't care
Mickey
about the
James,
NWA
so he's
title.
definitely doing something right.
Look, he's winning in life. Absolutely, he's winning in life. But I'm just saying like that's not a match that interests me. So It would be disappointing if that's where we ended up. For me personally, now granted, I'm
Well, my
not the target guy for all of it anyway.
well, no, because I totally agree with you on this point. Like, and I like Nick Aldis. I was a fan of Magnus and TNA and blah blah blah. But I mean, Nick Aldis is real bland.
Yeah,
He's real bland.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
so like I'm with you. Flip versus Cody is definitely the more enticing match. My bigger question is if Nick Aldis loses the title, is he no longer all in? Was the title booked for all in, or is he also booked for all in?
Well,
That is my bigger question.
if you remember the press conference, they did announce one match, but they announced that the NWA title will be defended. They never said Nick Aldis will be the one to defend it. So I think that might be the case. Nick might not be on,
Maybe not.
and damn, that would suck for him.
Yeah, that would. Because I feel like this is, if nothing else, the exposure. This is getting so much like attention within the independent wrestling community that the exposure alone is so worth it.
Call me crazy, but and uh, this is how your boy, this is how your boy is transitioning. Check out the professional journalist over here. But this All In feels bigger than it feels. It's like the indie WrestleMania already, but it feels bigger than a Super Card of Honor. Like it feels like there's no other show bigger than there's no other show other than WrestleMania and Wrestle Kingdom that's bigger than All In. That's almost what it feels like. And maybe it's because we're in the midst of it, but it feels like that's the level because New Japan is the second biggest company in Japan, second biggest company in the world, right? Wrestle Kingdom's been going on for decades. That is established. WrestleMania is Super Bowl level big, right? It's
Yep.
established. Well, All In is a confluence of every other company, right?
And everybody working and everybody working together, and just like indie shows like this don't normally have buzz the level of what we're seeing here. Like that's what's I think maybe that's part of why it feels so big to us is
Yeah.
because as seasoned wrestling fans we're used to indie shows being cool but not having this level of buzz. Like anybody who's a fan of pro wrestling outside of WWE at all and has even a surface level awareness of indie wrestling knows about All In and knows what's going on. And that's something we haven't seen in a long time.
Well, most indie shows don't have the access to everybody that the Bucks and the Cody have access to.
Well, and
Excuse me.
a lot of credit goes to Cody and Brandy Rhodes for using some of the name brand value that they had from when they left WWE to help platform a lot of these indie promotions.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the Bucks have been doing it for a long time. I'm not going to disrespect the Bucks and pretend that they're not always championing
Sure.
indie wrestling.
But the
But
legacy of Cody with his family and with being a WWE guy and not only a WWE guy but a successful WWE guy, absolutely.
and Brandy using that like Rhodes family awareness of how to promote yourself.
Yeah. But we would be remiss if we didn't thank the number one reason why all of this is happening, and that's Ring of Honor and Joe Koff. Like, like don't fool yourselves. This is still a Ring of Honor show, you know.
Yeah,
So
but you know why it's not a Ring of Honor show? You're
because
right. They're paying for a lot of this shit. But you want to know why it's not a Ring of Honor show?
because the
Ring of
public
Honor
don't let it know.
never sell 10,000 tickets.
Amen to that. Like, okay, so let's make this transfer real quick. Good luck, Ring of Honor selling out 18,000 seats at Madison Square
Honor
Garden.
ain't trying to do that shit. They're hoping New Japan will do that shit.
New Japan couldn't
I,
fill six. They couldn't fill 10,000 at the Cow Palace. And
no,
this isn't
I'm
a
not
diss.
saying that it's
That's
gonna
not a
happen. I'm
diss.
not saying that. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that at all. The only chance it's got to happen is because they're doing it WrestleMania weekend. That is the only chance it's got. But I still don't think it's gonna happen. I don't see that show selling out.
It's not.
Especially because I don't think Kenny and the Bucks will be on that card because I think they'll be on the card uptown the next day.
Well,
Um,
okay. So let's go ahead and make these predictions now because both of you and I said this. Kenny and the Bucks will both be at WrestleMania on WrestleMania. Hangman and Marty will both be at Takeover. I'm calling shit
no,
now.
I did not. I did not say the last part.
I
You said
said
the
that.
last part.
Yes.
I think Hangman and Marty are getting left behind, and I'm okay with that because I love Hangman and Marty, and I'm all for them like owning the Indies. That'd be great. But I don't think they're going to NXT. That's on you.
Marty is
I'd be okay with it.
Marty Skrull, the villain, is a gimmick straight out of Vince McMahon's mind. That's the beauty of the gimmick. That is a WWE gimmick through and through. That is something that Vince would have made for somebody.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't end up on 205. And I don't say
No,
that to disrespect 205 as like trash. 205 is not trash, but nobody cares about it. Like,
it's not the okay. You would have said that a year ago. You'd be right. There is a difference in it. The one problem with 205 is the location. If 205 was taped full sail like NXT, it'd be a critical
or
darling just as much as
even
NXT is.
before, like, even not even so much location. If they taped it before SmackDown instead of after SmackDown, I
Still,
think that
I
you'd
don't
have
think it would
better
still work.
crowds.
I don't. No, I don't think. And okay, so this is. I feel like now the WWE Homer has to walk into the house of indiness, right? So forgive me for being this guy,
Oh
But
no, this is your platform. I'll take back over when we talk G1.
but please tell me how wrong I am because I know you're gonna disagree with me.
No,
But
you don't know. I don't know how wrong you are because you haven't told me yet.
the same problem that NXT stars have on the main roster, which is a lot of them, but the one main one is the fan base of those guys is a much smaller fan base than the wider WWE main roster fan base. Is the same problem with a lot of these cruiserweight guys. That's the whole reason that he wanted Neville and Enzo there because they were main roster guys who they thought could bring interest to that brand. So they're building interest because they're having critically great matches, right? Literally, that's it. I mean, they've I mean the angles are cool, but they don't really have angles. Hey, I don't like you, you don't like me, let's have a match. Like there's no real depth to their angles, which is fine. I'm not saying it's bad. It's fine. It's actually refreshing to have a straight wrestling show. But so I don't think that yeah, the fans will like the matches, but main roster WWE is big on character work. And it's not that's not the be all end all like it used to be in 98, 99 or 2004, 2005, but it's still a major part of it. And Leo Rush has a character, right? Mustafa has a character. Who else has a character on that
My,
show?
my favorite cruiserweight for a better
Oh,
205
Drew
live.
Gulak. Right. But right now Gulak has kind of and Gallagher and Kendrick are great. I love them together as a
No, no,
team.
fuck that. We need hashtag Drew05 live.
Drew's the man.
Hashtag Drew05 live.
Well, I'm a Buddy Murphy mark, and that's my guy. I've been on Buddy Murphy since the days of Blake and Murphy.
That's kept secret in NXT.
Yes, absolutely. But again, Buddy Murphy doesn't have a character either. He's the juggernaut because he's bigger than everybody else and has to lose weight. That's a character, but it's not a character. So what I'm saying is putting him in front would just mean that the crowd would pop for their spots more, but I don't think it would still lead. I don't think it would lead to the interest as much
All right.
as most of us do think it would. Is I
Okay.
guess my point.
So my argument, I don't think that you're wrong, but my argument is that 205 Live's biggest problem is a lack of like payoff because it's so self-contained.
Absolutely.
Like I would rather, I say that, but I would rather they keep it self-contained than do what they were doing before where it was just random six-man tags when they didn't have anything else to do on Raw.
Sure. Sure.
Like although, I'm not going to get too much into that because my number one complaint about Monday Night Raw is video recaps. It's my number one complaint about, I think, the televised product in general
That's fair.
is the amount of video recaps. Because, we always talk about talent getting utilized and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying everybody needs to be a champion, but like, let some of these scrubs have 5-minute jobber matches instead of showing me a recap of the top of the hour segment every hour on the hour.
I'll give you a
Like,
perfect
let
example
Mike
of that.
Kanellis beat Kurt
Hawkins.
Hawkins. Yeah.
Well,
Let them have a 5-minute jobber match.
I'll give you a
And
perfect example of that. The Samoa Joe Ty Dillinger match on SmackDown tonight. That was built up for 2 weeks. The match was 5 minutes long, but it accomplished everything they did accomplish. So yeah.
yep, and it got them on the show. And so like, boom, like let me have more of that and less of the video recaps. But no, like when 205 was doing these like random 6-man tags that had no storyline and no like rhyme or reason to them,
Hmm.
and they wondered why this wasn't getting over on Raw, well, that's why. Because there's no reason for anything. You're just throwing as many of the cruisers on the show as you can fit on the show.
So you're right, but I think so. We also have to remember that. Okay, so the hardest thing to do in wrestling is to establish. There's nothing harder. Nothing harder in wrestling to do than establish. Um,
And
be,
so, well, so to finish my point, I'm sorry, I didn't like make my proper point. My proper
yeah, I
point
did.
is
I'm sorry, I didn't know you
two
were going to finish.
five needs some kind of a payoff. If you're not going to have them be on Raw and part of the pay-per-views, even if they're just on the pre-show, being part of the main roster pay-per-views, if they're going to be a self-contained unit, give them their own version of a takeover. It doesn't have to be that big, but like every now and then let them have like a 2-hour cruiserweight show where some of this shit matters. and things come to a head and give me a reason to give a damn.
I do think that'll happen because they know that they have something special in 205 because they tried to do the weekend tour to see how it would do. They just didn't have the stars enough to make it what they wanted it to be. And that they're much better now, in a much better place now as a brand than they were then, which was, I would think it was barely 6 months ago or whatever. But I do think that eventually we'll get a special 2 hour full sale special eventually or something like that. I would love that. That would be perfect for them. It could be, doesn't have to be quarterly. It could be every 6 months, but something for them to have these, like you said, have these blow off a super card, have the blow off matches, right? But I do think, to your raw point, when you're establishing a brand and a brand inside of an existing brand, like go back to the old NXT days when they rebranded the show NXT to FCW NXT. Those first shows were god awful. They had fun matches, but it was all about establishing characters and establishing a brand. Like it wasn't until a couple years later when the Nevilles of the world and the Graves of the world and the Sami Zayns of the world, and all credit to them, the Bo Dallases of the world, and Cesaro is to be thanked, and Paige and Emma. But those guys led the not only the critical acclaim, but the idea in the eyes of the minds of fans that, well, this is legit. And then of course, Shinsuke's and Balor's and Joe's and Owens and all that happened, and Charlotte and Four Horsewomen and all that. But so I say that for 205, when they started, the biggest thing for the roster on the main roster was they know who Cedric Alexander is. They have no idea who he is. Who the fuck is a Graham Talik? TJP, what is that? So let them have these random matches and get used to their movesets. Get used to, much like you've told me in New Japan, how they tell stories through their matches because they don't have segments, right? Similar to that. The problem was they went away from it and they gave up on it. Had they ran their course, I think it would have worked. But they gave up on it, and then they said, "All right, this ain't working. Let's pull Aries out of NXT to do this, even though he doesn't want to. Let's throw Neville in here, even though he wants to be on the main roster. Let's give him Enzo." And they panicked, and it didn't work. Since they dropped back and punted, like I
All
think
three of them aren't with the company anymore.
is that's some crazy shit, isn't it?
Like, yeah. You
Wow,
know, when you think about it, the only former cruiserweight champions that are still with the company are TJP and the Brian Kendrick.
Tozawa.
All. Oh, I forgot Tozawa
He
had the
won it
belt
for
for.
like a week. Yeah,
I forgot he held it for a cup of coffee.
yeah,
But yeah, Rich Swan, Impact,
yep.
Enzo, who the fuck knows? Because he's fucking crazy.
World Star.
Um, Aries, Impact, and Ring of Honor, and a bunch of other
Every
companies.
other company he can win a belt from. Yeah.
Yep. And Neville is sitting at home, wanting to be released, but not getting it because they'll hold that contract for as long as they can.
But he won't quit. That's the problem.
Oh, I'm not absolving Neville. That's not what
Okay.
I mean. I'm not trying to absolve Neville. I'm
Okay.
just saying like those two sides are in like a never
Oh
ending.
yeah.
He's just gonna sit at home and they're just gonna hold the contract until they're not allowed to hold the contract anymore.
But they'll be able to hold it forever because it's frozen. He owes so many dates, so they, much like the whole Rey Mysterio situation, it's frozen. So until they come to some agreement of his termination, they can literally hold it for as long as they want, and it's fucked up, but that's legally within their right. Um, and I know this is way off from what we plan on talking about, but we don't have to talk about the Neville thing in depth or even at all. But I just know I've had this argument with people who feel like WWE is just fucking Neville over. Well, he needs to quit. He walked out. I don't understand this idea where somebody can walk out of
I
their
think,
contract and people are like, oh well, he should have walked out of his contract. That's great. He signed a contract.
well, no, I think when people are making that argument, and I'm just speculating here,
Sure,
I think that the argument they're trying to make is that walking out is the same as quitting, even though it's not. Like,
absolutely not.
I Like, and the reason that it's not, y'all, is because walking off the job is something that your employer can fire you for. But if you've got a contract, you are legally required to give written notice for that contract to be terminated. Like, that's how that works. You got to put in your notice. Okay, he walked off the job. If they don't want to fire him, then he has to write in and say, fuck y'all, let me go.
Let me give you guys a perfect example for those of you listening who either disagree or don't understand. Cody Rhodes quit, right? He quit.
He wanted to be done being Stardust, and they
He
didn't
quit.
want him to be done being Stardust, and he was like, "All right, y'all, I gotta go."
He gave his written notice and he quit. AJ Lee quit. Eve Torres quit. Lita and
Cody's wife
Trish
Brandy
quit.
quit.
Who?
Cody's wife Brandy quit.
Brandy quit. Right. CM Punk walked out. Stone Cold walked out. There's a difference. So like I feel where Neville's coming from in his issues, but if you if you're that in your convictions, then quit. It's not that hard. In fact, you've lost more by keeping this up than you would have by quitting.
Yeah, if he'd have quit, he could be the Lucha Underground or Ring of Honor or
He'd be working.
or anywhere champion.
He'd be
He could
working.
be best of Super Juniors.
He'd be working and getting paid. Like because he's not working dates and his contract is frozen. I don't know if he's still cashing his checks. And if he's cashing his checks, still his downside checks, because you still get your downside, right? He's still cashing his checks. Then that further shows he's in the wrong because you still taking money from a company you don't want to be from, be at no more. So, but that we didn't mean to talk about that because we wanted
You
to
know,
talk
who'd never
Tongan.
do that. You know who'd never do that, uh, Rance.
Who?
You know who'd never do that? Tamatanga.
I was just about to say we want to talk Tongans every single segment. So,
Tonga never do that shit.
man, look. Can I tell you a funny story about Tamatonga before we talk about Firing Squad?
You can tell me any story about Tamatanga. I'm always down to learn more about Tamatanga.
If you guys listening don't know, because I know Kyle and I have a different. I mean, we have the same. Kyle's my brother just as much as Carl is, so we have the same rapport, but we talk about different things. But every time Kyle and I talk, in this is personally or on a podcast form, we gush over the Tongans. Like we love the Tongans like it's nobody's business. But um, the night of the G1 special, I was at a homeboy's house watching UFC. The night Brock Lesnar came into the cage and pushed DC and all this stuff. I was
In the night
watching that.
a wrestling angle on MMA.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, UFC WrestleMania 39 or whatever. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but of course, I had interest of what was happening in the G1. At least I had interest for what was going to happen with Kenny and Cody. Everything else, I can wait. And and in fact, it was Caleb who texted me and told me the Tongans turned on the Bullet Club. So of course, forget
No, they did. They didn't though. The
no, right.
Bullet Club turned on the
Well, you
Tongans.
have to understand Caleb is,
Caleb doesn't understand because he's too busy watching Impact.
right. Well, shout out to Caleb. But anyway, so instantly, me and my so of the five guys there, three of us are wrestling fans, two of us are diehards. My other guy is, I mean, well, he's a diehard because he goes to the shows anytime he can, but he doesn't watch New Japan. But me and my other boy keep up with it at least, watch it to keep up with it at least. So we're talking about it, we're looking at all the clips and stuff, and I found let's see, a GIF of uh Tama after he had beat them up, walking out, with his little flossing little move he does, right? And I showed it to my homeboy who doesn't watch New Japan, and his direct quote was, "This is a direct quote. Oh yeah, he's definitely killed somebody before."
Definitely possible. Tamatanga is an Air Force veteran. That is definitely possible.
Can I tell you something that Rance would you would never probably never ever hear Rance say again?
Mm.
I am a WWE homer through and through, always will be for the rest of my life. But Tama Tonga might be the one person I've ever seen in my entire lifetime who I don't want to go to WWE.
Nope. Because it would actually ruin him
It
in a way.
yes.
Like, people are real hyperbolic about, oh, I don't want to see so and so go there because they'd be ruined. Like, no, the Tongans couldn't succeed in that toned down of an environment.
There's another group that wouldn't, but I'm not going to mention them out of respect to you because you know I love you and I don't want to bring them up to you. But you know what I'm talking about. There's another tag team that is
Oh
similar
yeah,
to that. Yeah,
yeah. There's another tag team. Um, they're a bunch of inbred redneck hicks from Delaware.
Sandy
Um,
Fork. Yes, I'm
and,
not going to
and
say
to
their
quote,
names.
to quote Bad Luck Fale, fuck them, fuck them.
Out of respect to my co-host and my brother, I'm not gonna give them the pub.
Oh, we can name them. Oh no, we can name them. We're
Well,
talking about the Briscoe brothers. I ain't got no time for the Briscoe brothers. I ain't got no time for their backwoods homophobic bullshit.
tell them how
Fuck
you
them.
really feel. Tell them how you really feel.
Fuck them.
But the Briscoes are the only other act I can think of that are similar to that in that.
They couldn't do it in
Yeah.
that toned down of environment. Their
Yes.
gimmick is so dependent on them being able to A, be really hardcore,
Yes.
and B, curse a lot.
Not only that, but the actions Tama does, the grabbing of his crotch, and he just
And flipping the bird, like
yeah.
him and his brother both. Like Camacho left, and Tongaloa is way better than Camacho. He's not riding to the ring in his bicicleta. He's like giving people like the he's like doing the Italian thing with the arms and shit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, the Tongans are amazing. And when Hikuleo comes back healthy, that's only just
Haku is such a great dad.
can we talk about the fact that Haku was Father of the Year?
Like such a great fucking dad. All three of them kids incredibly successful. Two of them went to college, the other one in the Air Force, like just incredibly fucking successful.
Not to mention that Tama and Hikuleo, who are blood brothers, are not his children.
Yeah.
They are his nephews. Something happened to their parents, and he adopted them.
Yeah, they are his wife's nephews. Well, they're his nephews too, but
Sure.
via his wife, and he adopted them when they were very very young. In fact, Tamatanga and Tongaloa are actually the same age.
See, now I did not know that.
Tama is a little bit less than a year older than Tongaloa.
Wow.
But yeah, they're practically the same age. But yeah, he's definitely father of the year. And another person I wouldn't fight. Braun could throw me like a lawn dart off the side of the cage before I went toe to toe with King Haku.
Oh no, but see, that's legendary though. Like people who don't know wrestling know Haku.
Yeah,
That-
nope, I'm
yeah.
not that brave.
When you're a man who gets so angry you've bitten off a human nose, I don't think you want no smoke with this gentleman.
No, and like, it was funny. Tamatanga put this thing out on Twitter a couple days ago talking about three of us took down eight of them, referring to that beatdown.
Yeah,
And I thought to myself, yeah, but one of y'all was Haku. So
that doesn't count.
that's like six people right there. You and your brother really only needed to take down one person each, because Haku
Oh,
alone is good for six. Especially because four of them dudes are cruiserweights.
this is a good point. And to be fair, Chase and Yujiro didn't see it coming. The other ones did. Chase and Yujiro didn't see it coming.
Man, Chase got a raw deal. They betrayed his Tongan heritage.
Okay, so let's break it down. Let's break it down. By now, I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you know that after Kenny and Cody had their uh, match for the IWGP Championship, Heavyweight
Big
Championship, at the G1 Special in the Cow Palace in San Francisco, um, uh, the Elite, original Elite, Kenny, Nick, and Matt Jackson, all were celebrating the win, and the Tongans came out. The Tongans being God, Tamatonga, Tongaloa, and their dad Haku, who wrestled on the show with them to celebrate, but ended up beating them down. Drug them back to the ring, beat the holy hell out of them, and one by one, uh, they came to help.
Hangman.
Hangman came, then Marty came, and then God bless Chase and Yujiro, who rock with the Bullet Club OGs. They've been with them the entire time.
Yep.
Like you just said, Chase is convinced he's Tongan in real life. Uh, but
Betrayed his Tongan heritage.
so, and the reason that Tama gave for beating the hell out of Chase and Yujiro was that the issue is, I'm just explaining this for people who don't know, so forgive me for doing the exact same thing you hate on WWE, which is recapping. Forgive me. Um, but Tama, Fale, who made the call, but wasn't even there, and Tangaloa felt betrayed by the Elite. Kenny and the Young Bucks because they had kind of turned Bullet Club into something it wasn't, made a parody of it. They had the nerve to create a mini group inside of the Bullet Club and Bullet Club is family. And
Actually,
while
they had a leader
right,
because they've been very adamant that none of them are better than any of the others. And like he even made excuses for why Finn and AJ at times had been leaders just because they had been the most successful. So the rest of the group propped them up. It wasn't that they were better
yep,
than anybody else, it was just looking out. And in fact, in that same interview, said that they knew what was going down. It's like, oh yeah, we talked to Finn and AJ and Carl about that shit. They knew about that.
they gave him the okay.
They said we were doing the right thing.
I love it, dog. And we have to remember that yes, Doc, Gallows, Nick, and Matt technically can be considered originals, but they wasn't there when it started. The night Bullet Club started, it was Finn, Fale, Carl, and Tama. That was it. So of course Tama and Fale are gonna feel a certain way because they're the true heart of the Bullet Club. They've
They were
always
out.
believed in the Bullet Club ideals and whatnot. Um,
Well, even to the point where, and I know this, a lot of this was storyline, but even to the point like when the elite were going through the cease and desist, and they can't do the too sweet anymore, and they can't do this, that, and the third. The Tongans were like, man, nah, fuck that. We still too sweet. We like we still Bullet Club for life. You can't come after us. Fuck that. We ain't in no cease and desist.
yep. I, and I mean, and by the way,
Haku's children would never be in a cease and desist. Ain't
no.
no lawyer telling Haku what to do.
Oh God, no. They what you know what they would do, right? They would send Roman and the Usos to go talk to
Polynesian solidarity.
him. Absolutely. Well, I mean, the Tongans and the Samoans are all related in some kind of way, and I'm not saying that that's because it sounds racist until you look at the history of their families and you see that they're
Oh
all
yeah.
really kind of related in some form or fashion.
Tamatanga and Troy Polamalu could be twins. It's cool.
Oh no, they're absolutely twins. Like you've never seen them in the same place.
No. Mm-mm. That's why
Um,
Tamatanga didn't become a big wrestler until after
Troy Polamalu
2010
retired.
because Troy retired and he's secretly living a double life. That's also why Troy was one of the best safeties in NFL history. How could Haku's son not be an elite hitter?
And think about it. Tama has an epic beard. Palomalu was absolutely clean shaven. You don't think there's a reason?
Well, and he's always wearing the face paint just to throw you off the trail.
I'm telling you, man. Like, look, read into it. But if you have the chance to read that interview, it's on with I think Jessica Barrasso at but it's
Sports
on Sports
Illustrated.
Illustrated. It's so illuminating because it's absolutely storyline, but it makes everything comes together. The point where they said chasing Yujiro, we wanted them to rock with them. We didn't have any issue with anybody else except for Nick, Matt, and Kenny. Marty and Hangman had made their choice. Chasing Yujiro, all they had to do was come out there and stand with us, and we'd have rocked with them. But they decided to help them, and we have respected Cody. Cody was the one person that we had rocked with. We had been watching them forever to say that we're gonna be with you, dog. We rocking with you. We're behind you because it stood up to
Because
Kenny.
and he was saying all the right things. You think you're better than us. You're
Yeah,
stealing the
yeah.
moment, blah, blah, blah.
And
And
then
so we
Cody had
gave
to
him
go
the
and
chair and
yep,
gave him the opportunity, and then he made his fucking bed.
yep. It's
And you know what
so
Cody's first mistake was?
what's
He
that?
didn't hit Haku with the chair first.
Oh, absolutely. Like I don't.
He went for Tonga and Loa like that's the move. No, you hit Haku first.
Speaking of that in BTE, and what the fuck's Haku's problem?
Yeah. What the hell is Haku's problem?
Look, man. I am so invested in the Tongans and Tama Tonga. And so while we're talking about them, we can talk about G1 because I mean that's the
Well,
most relevant
there's
thing
been
going on.
storyline developments related to it. So, like,
Absolutely.
first night of the G1, A block for Hangman Page versus Bad Luck Fale.
Yes.
And that match ended in a disqualification.
It was a brawl,
And
basically.
and anybody who watches New Japan Pro Wrestling knows that you practically got to stab someone
For
to end a
DQ.
match in disqualification.
Yeah.
Like, these refs let any fucking thing slide. To
Yep.
the point where Kevin Kelly does what I wish JR would have fucking done and makes excuses for it in the commentary. Like, Kevin Kelly will say when the matches start to get out of hand, refs very reluctant to ever end in a disqualification during the G1 because the G1 is so important and they want these matches to have pinfalls. And, like, he'll make excuses for it. So the fact that this match actually ended in a DQ shows you how crazy the beatdown was.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keep going, please.
Well, so then night two, Fale beat Okada.
Hmm.
With or this was actually night three, but second night of A block action, Fale beat Okada with the bad luck fall. Gave a hilarious interview afterwards, talking about fuck the elite, fuck Okada's pants,
Fuck the balloons.
yeah, fuck the balloons. Tongalo in the background, fuck them shits.
It's, it's great stuff, man. And
Uh,
Tama and Kenya are both in the B block.
Tama and Kenny are both in the B block.
Yeah. And they're
Le
scheduled to wrestle next week.
Oh, and Ibushi is also in the B block.
Yes, because
Ibushi
Kenny and Ibushi have to wrestle at what's the hall that Ibushi got banned from?
can.
Yeah, they're gonna wrestle that night in Budokan. Yeah, which is gonna be a hell of a match because
Oh, it's gonna be
they
great.
haven't wrestled since before Kenny was a Bullet Club member,
Yeah,
right?
this is the first. Well, this is the first one-on-one for them since like the old Golden Lovers.
Oh, right, because that's what got him banned in the first place.
Yeah, like this is the big like this
Yeah.
is big. Um, but they're all in the B block, and then Hangman and Fale are both in the A block. Um, I think the biggest crazy takeaway from they've done the first three nights of action. The crazy thing is, I'd have never believed that both Kazuchika Okada and Minoru Suzuki would be 0-2 after the
Suzuki,
first
I
two nights of block action.
Suzuki, I can understand because Suzuki basically just essentially exists to get other people over.
Yeah, but the people that he's lost to in the first two matches were
That's true.
Tanahashi and Togi Makabe.
Yes, that is true. Well, okay, you talking about that. How about Toriano out wrestling Zack Sabre Jr.?
Yeah, but I've been telling you this for years, man. Toru Yano can go. The comedy character is just a thing he does.
And Josh has told me that. Jeremy's told me that. So you're right.
Like,
But it's
yeah,
one thing
Toru
to
Yano
know it could happen. It's another
forget.
thing for it to happen.
Yeah, people forget that because, well, a lot of people haven't seen it because he's been doing this comedy character forever. But if you're new to New Japan, like, don't be fooled by the water spitting and the screaming and the taking off the turnbuckle pad
And the DVD.
and the DVDs. Don't be fooled by the T-shirts and the DVDs. Toru Yano can go. He used to be this like sadistic, bad ass motherfucker, and then like toned it down. So I wasn't surprised to see him go with Sabre. But what a good match that was. Um, my unexpected highlight match, if you didn't see the first nights of the G1, and it's totally understandable. If this is your first G1, don't feel bad if you don't watch every match of every night.
It's so much
Because,
action. Yeah,
yeah, like the G1 is a marathon for hardcore fans. So don't be
basically.
intimidated by that. But I highly recommend from night three, Hangman Page versus Michael Elgin.
I've heard great things about that. Yeah.
That was a really good match. Less surprising, but also great. Naito and Omega had a good match.
Well, yeah, but I mean, look at the two.
Yeah,
We expected that.
Switchblade had a really good match with Okada, and it's really important match
Yes.
because the storyline that they're pushing through the G1 this year is Switchblade trying to take over Chaos.
Well, you say they're pushing that through the G1. I told you the second that he joined Chaos to fight the Bullet Club, this was gonna happen because he said in his promo, "We're gonna fight eventually. I'm only with y'all because I need help. Like I
Oh, it was
don't want to
always
rock
bound
with y'all."
to happen. It's the genius of the way that New Japan tells their stories. They book these things months and months and months out.
Yep.
Um, but I'm more interested in what the result of this is going to be in terms of, are members of Chaos going to fall in line and Okada's out of Chaos? Or
Well,
is Jay White going to get his ass beat Bullet Club style and pushed out of Chaos?
well, can can a marginal New Japan fan give his opinion?
Always.
So it's very clear Okada has something has changed in him since he lost the title. He's yelling Scooby Dooby Doo. He's coming out with balloons, and
I think
he
he's the
already changed.
happiest he's ever been.
Yes, he's so happy he doesn't have to carry the company anymore. He's not the rainmaker anymore. He doesn't want to make it rain anymore. He wants to have fun. Um, but Jay White is more serious. But I want you to pay attention to one minor little detail. Everybody in Chaos is essentially losing in the G1. Have you noticed that? Ishii's losing. Is Makabe still part? Is he part of Chaos?
No, Makabe is independent. The members of Chaos are Yoshihashi,
Yeah. Goto,
uh,
Goto,
Goto, uh,
um, uh,
Okada,
Switchblade, Okada. I mean, yeah.
Switchblade.
Well, I mean, I know most of them. I'm confused with Makabe because I know he was Great Bash heel, but since they broke up or the other guy got hurt or something.
Makabe is one of he's part of that like Tanahashi crew of like not really affiliated with anybody.
Right. But
That's why a lot of times when he does the tags, he's with a young lion.
yeah, Hanare, right?
Yeah, well, Makabe also does a lot of the training work with the young lions.
Okay. Um, but I think, and of course, everything in New Japan is for a reason. You got to give them all the credit in the world for that. But it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something to notice that you're supposed to be our leader, and you lost the title, which happens, right? People lose, but you done lost your ever loving mind. And here is this other guy out here trying to take everything seriously. I think Okada will be excommunicated uh from Chaos here soon because I think Okada and Jay White is your match in the Tokyo Dome.
Well, what I will say is it's been really interesting because Kevin Kelly, one of Kevin Kelly's partners for the English commentary for the first three nights, has been Rocky Romero.
Also
And
part of Chaos.
yes, and listening to Rocky's commentary, anytime they ask him about, yeah, so what's going on with Switchblade and Okada, and what's going on with this whole Switchblade saying you're either following him or what? Like, he says this is his chaos now. What's up with that? And following Romero's reactions is going to be very telling, I feel like.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Especially considering how he's Taka's kind of the mouthpiece of Suzuki Gun, right? Sort of, kind
Yeah.
of, at least for Zack Saber.
Yes, and I
Um,
think that's an ingenious way to use.
Taka, hell yeah,
Yeah. Well, and it's an ingenious way to get Zack Saber over
have his
as the
own.
type of character that they want him to be
Yeah,
when he can't communicate with the crowd.
absolutely, absolutely. To endear him to them essentially. But I use that analogy to say that Rocky Romero is essentially the voice of chaos because he's the only one that really talks,
Yeah. For
right?
the
I'm
English audience, he is definitely
sure, but I
the
mean,
that stable.
even in interviews, if we're not talking about the press conferences, none of them really talk outside of Gato, but he barely talks himself. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
essentially, we look at Rocky as the de facto voice of chaos. So he's basically, you're right, he's going to essentially tell us what's about to happen. Like you said, I think that is absolutely genius. Because, I mean, Rocky's already kind of moving more to the agent production commentary side anyway.
Yeah, he only really wrestles now if Roppongi 3K is having a six-man tag.
And I don't know if Roppongi 3K is going to last much longer either because Show and Yo are ready to kind of go on their own separate ways anyway.
That's bad for Yo. That's
Yeah,
for Yo.
yeah, but then me and you both have.
Show is the talent there.
He is, well, he's the Michaels and Yo is the Jannetty, but Yo will still have Oh, I mean, if Desperado and Bushi still have, you know,
Oh, Yo has a place. Yo
yeah,
has his place.
but I
Every
think
stable needs its cruiserweight fall guy.
absolutely, and me and you both have said here not too long ago that uh w- we're definitely running out of junior tags, but if you look at the scope of junior heavyweights, singles guys, Hiromu's gonna be gone for a while, right? Me and you both think Kushida should either go to Ring of Honor or move to heavyweight or whatever it is, but take those two out. The cupboard is not as strong as it used to be in that division.
Well, no, because and a lot of that is, the precedent of juniors moving up to heavyweight. So many of the juniors have moved up to heavyweight that they haven't really replenished with new juniors. Right now, you've really, outside of the two you mentioned, basically you've got
O-
Ishimori,
Osprey.
Osprey, but Osprey's banged up.
Oh, that's right. And Ishimori just came back. But yeah, you're right. Uh, you
Uh,
you got Desperado and Kakahara,
Kinemura.
Kitamura. Forgive me. I didn't mean to butcher his
No,
name,
you're
but
fine.
yes.
You're fine. Then
Bushi,
Bushi, and then when Show and Yo don't tag.
and if you count him, even though he's CMLL, Dragon Lee,
Oh, and Marty. Forgot about Marty.
Mario won't be there much longer. I'm telling you.
Well,
And if they
for
keep
now,
if
at
they
least, got Marty.
if they keep having Marty face these big time heavyweights like Okada or fight for the Ring of Honor championship or all these things he's doing, Marty's not gonna be a junior much longer.
Oh, I mean, he's been trying to get Fale to he'd been trying to get Fale to face him for a while. That was one
Well,
of the bigger stories.
okay, so let's do this. I want you to give me your, and I think we agree, but I want you to give me who you think is gonna win the G1, who you think is your second choice, and give me your final, and I'll do the same.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm on record that I think Ibushi is going to win the G1. Um, my second choice, if you'd asked me before the tournament started, I'd have said Naito. But after the first couple nights of action, my second choice is Switchblade. Um, Based on what they've been doing with him. As for my final, I got Ibushi out of block B and out of block A. Uh, Even though he doesn't have any points right now, it's hard to bet against Okada. But it could be Switchblade. It could be Ibushi versus Switchblade. That would be an interesting final.
I think that's the fight. Forgive me for. Well, not forgive me, but you have to understand I look at things so differently because I'm a WWE homer. But I think that is the final that New Japan needs. I say that, and here's why I say that. New Japan, even more than WWE, is a company that the top guys are stuck. The top guys are always going to be the top guys, right? It's so hard to get into that top level. You can kind of float around that upper mid card, but that top level is really hard to get into.
There's a glass ceiling.
There's a very it's thicker than WWE's if we're being honest. So
Perfect example. Togi Makabe and Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto are in the G1.
yeah, and Hiroki Goto is a poster child for a guy who's
Not
should
been
have
good for years.
yeah, and not only that, but when he was good, was never got the opportunity to get that level, so nobody looks at him seriously anymore.
But
Oh,
you know what? I think Yoshihashi's involvement upsets me the most. If for no other reason than, he doesn't have necessarily any more momentum than Yoshihashi, but I'd rather see David Finlay because it'd be someone new.
Makabe and Yoshihashi both,
Yeah,
but
I'd
yeah,
rather see David Finlay. I mean, I know Cody couldn't be in it because he's filming a movie or whatever the fuck he's doing.
yeah.
But like, if he couldn't be in it, I'd rather have seen like David Finlay because it'd be different.
Anybody, Tai Chi, God,
Naito mentioned in an interview like how he thought Taichi should be in the G1 and how it was kind of ridiculous to him that he's not. Like, just somebody new. These guys aren't going to win. They're only going to get like 2 or 4 points anyway. So
absolutely.
let them go. Let them go in and lose and just have different matches.
So, and So you're kind of making my point for me that I think that the Ibushi Jay White is what they need because me and you both agree that the Elite will be gone by WrestleMania time at the latest. Um,
Yeah, I think they go out the AJ route. They
yes,
wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom, and then at New Year's Dash,
the say their
they
goodbyes.
yep
Yes. So
sail
and
off the
I agree
sunset.
with that. But then
Here's the Royal Rumble and shocks the world.
right. But Tanahashi isn't getting any younger. Okada has carried the world on his back for 2.5 years. So
And
there is
the neck.
yeah, right. So it's time for and they won't give the ball to Naito for whatever reason. So it's time for some new blood to ascend to that top level. Ibushi, Jay White,
Sonata.
uh,
I mean,
Sonata, and
Sonata's been
Evil.
consistent, but Sonata, not
Yes,
evil. I like evil. Don't get me wrong, but number one, he's older than you think, and he's not very good. I like the gimmick, but he's not very good.
well, he's better. I think he's better than you probably think he is, but that's fair. But Sonata definitely is great in the ring. Juice Robinson, um, uh,
Juice, yes, yes,
Saber,
Juice Robinson.
um, our favorite guy, Tama Tonga. Like it's time for some new Kushida, but it's time for some new blood to start making up this newer. And I'm not saying get away from what's brought to the dance. Like it's okay to still have your top guys as your top guys, but let's mix it up a bit. You know?
Great example from night one. It's okay to have Tanahashi still be in the G1 because he's the ace, but lose to Jay White and give Jay White that big rub.
Absolutely. Which is why I agree with you 100% that it's going to be Ibushi and Jay White in the final. I would say to look out. The A block looks. If Okada's not in the final, then it looks like a guy who's going to get a lot of points. Surprisingly, is going to be Hangman because he already has, I think, six. He hasn't lost yet.
Oh, he's only got two. You get two for a win. He got two. He won against Fale. He lost against Elgin.
He
So
lost to
he's
Big Mike.
yeah, he lost to Big Mike. He
Okay.
beat Fale.
Okay.
Um, Great match though. Like he won in a loss. And when I say that, I mean like Japanese crowds are notoriously quiet and respectful. The Japanese crowd was chanting Hangman Page,
Wow.
like screaming his name in that match.
Wow. That's a yeah. Japanese crowds are notoriously quiet.
For them to do that for a gaijin, like Hangman has endeared himself to the fans so far in the G1. Um, but I don't think he's going to get a lot of points. Who will get a lot of points deceptively because he always gets a lot of points is Fale. Fale gets double digit points in the G1 every year. He never wins the block. He gets
Yeah.
like points every year.
That's always funny to me, and I love Fale, but
I
that's
do.
always interesting to me.
I mean, Tongan power, man.
Hell yeah.
That's his cousin.
Um, we wanted to talk a little NXT real quick, but we need to mention the Ring of Honor New Japan. We talked about it a little, but we didn't really go in. Did we go into it enough
I mean, I
about
think
Madison Square Garden?
we both got our main point across because we talked about okay, they're gonna finally go in the Garden. They're gonna be there WrestleMania weekend. You know, neither of us think that they're gonna sell out. My one caveat is the only chance they have is because it is
We did talk about that.
WrestleMania weekend,
Yeah.
and there will theoretically be enough people with as many people as they're gonna have in MetLife Stadium. There are enough wrestling fans to sell out the Garden and probably Barclays because that's probably where they'll do Takeover. So there theoretically are enough fans to do it, but I don't see it happening. I just don't.
Ring of Honor really needs to step its game up. I mean, you're notorious
Well,
for
that's
being
the
the Ring of
problem.
Honor truther.
But that's the problem. Is
Yeah.
it's Ring of Honor. They're not pulling their weight. And if you're right, if your prediction is right, and Hangman and Marty go with the other guys in the Elite, and they go to Takeover, that's going to gut Ring of Honor. If you take away the Young Bucks, Page, and Skrull, that guts the upper mid card of Ring of Honor.
It does, but let me play devil's advocate. Sometimes the best thing to happen to a wrestling company is when their backs are not only completely against the wall, but they've lost everything. For example, the catalyst for WWE to get off their ass and really become what they needed for the Attitude Era to come was everybody leaving. Hogan, uh, Savage,
Heart,
Piper,
Nash,
Hart,
Hall.
Hall, like, all this, right? And Michaels essentially left because he got hurt, and they had to push the younger stars. They had to make new guys. They had to change everything up.
Well,
And
you know how Ring of Honor could make this a good thing? To piggyback off your statement, if all these guys leave, they need to whip into their pockets and piggyback off that Sinclair money, and they need to sign like Matt Bloom and David Starr and Joey Janela and some of these indie guys that are lighting up these indie feds.
when he says Matt Bloom, he means Matt Riddle, guys.
You knew what I meant.
Yeah,
Damn it,
but
Matt.
yes, you're absolutely right. Because so the funny this is what's hilarious to me. Evolve and WWE in general are getting the guys essentially Ring of Honor should have.
Absolutely.
Joey Janela should have went from GCW and from CCW. That's the mid level to Ring of Honor. But no, he went to WWE. Matt Riddle should have went to Ring of Honor. Instead he went to WWE. Like, so these people are, I don't know if David Starr even has a contract to anybody, or Maxwell
I
Joseph
think
Friedman or these
David.
guys.
I think both of them are with MLW.
Well, Maxwell Joseph Friedman is, yes. MJF is with MLW, but that's a new thing. That just happened this year.
David Starr also does a lot of shit in Britain
That's true.
because he does that sexy star tag team with Sexsmith.
Yeah. But I mean, if talking about MJF and Shane Strickland, who is Kill Shot and
Hmm.
Lucha Underground, but talking about like guys like that who's in MLW, that just happened this year. But then I'm talking about guys. But I'm think about think about the top level guys that Evolve or WWE in general has, right? You said Janela, Riddle, of course, Walter.
I was gonna say,
Uh,
wasn't Walter with them before he
yeah,
signed with WWE?
he still hasn't signed yet. It's not official.
But speaking of WWE, that's the other thing. Evolve and WWN have working relationships.
With WWE, you're right. But what I'm saying is, Ring of Honor should have got these people before that even happened. Austin Theory, like these are people who were just running the Indies before Keith Lee Keith Lee wrestled a match at Reality of Wrestling a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years
Well,
ago. I went to Ring of Honor should have said this guy is going to be somebody because Keith Lee. I
well,
remember reading
like
the
Matt Riddle especially, like the
yeah.
fact that Matt Riddle is not employed by a televised company is like
Well,
criminal.
okay, so I can to that his explanation for that is he wants to be the king of the indies. He doesn't want a contract. He really wants to just do this indie life and be his own boss. And I respect that.
That's fine. That's fine, I guess. But I
Yeah.
mean, like
It is
Johnny
is
Morrison Impact does his
yes.
indie life, and he's still on all these fucking shows that are
Right, but
readily accessible to me.
look, I agree with you 100%. But I'm just saying I guess what I'm saying is that what is Gabe Spolsky doing better than Joe Koff? To see these guys before they've reached that pinnacle and get them and sign them. Because he's doing something better than Joe Koff is doing. Because they have
I
the
think
access
that
to the same
Impact
people.
is starting to get more people than Ring of Honor gets.
Yeah,
Impact
but
is starting to get more signings because Don Callis knows what the fuck he's doing.
not just that, but you have LU to thank for that because most of their best guys they're getting came from LU.
But you know what?
Cage,
Did that?
Pentagon,
Yeah, but you know what? LU did
Phoenix.
that to save themselves because LU had an issue on their hands. Their talents were pissed last season
Yeah,
because of the way that their contracts had been written and the delayed air dates when they would record. A lot of their like that was the big falling out with Ricochet. A big part of what pushed Ricochet. I mean, he'd have signed with WWE anyway, but a big part of the falling out he had with Lucha Underground was season 3 took so long to shoot that until it finished airing, his contract was technically not up and he couldn't get started with NXT. And so to keep all of their talents from flying the coop and to make sure that the brand had life, LU had to ease up a little bit on
yeah,
some of the bullshit. And so now Impact took advantage of that, and it's
absolutely.
made Impact much more watchable.
Well, I'll never
Anything
know.
that has Pentagon and Phoenix is infinitely more watchable to me.
Well, this is true because they're great talents, but I mean I'll never know because I'm not gonna watch Impact. But God bless them. Look, more power to them. But it's just a travesty to me that every other company is signing all the best talent, but Ring of Honor isn't. But they have the most money available.
Because Ring of Honor's in the same place, right down to shitty production values. Ring of Honor's in the same place as a company that they were in 10 years ago. Like, Impact, for as much of a joke as Impact is, they've got better fucking production values, and they've gone bankrupt like 6 times.
Not only that, but they will definitely sign the Hot Act.
Well, they'll sign the Hot Act, but I'm just talking simple
You're
production
right.
value.
No, you're right. You are
Like,
absolutely right.
Impact was in Chapter 11 bankruptcy, had to relocate to Canada to save Anthem production costs because Anthem's a Canadian company. That's why all their shit's in Toronto and Ottawa now, is because now Impact's based out of Canada, which is fine. But the fact is, this is a company that was in dire straits, and they got better production values than a company owned by Sinclair Broadcasting with billions of dollars.
Yep. And Sinclair just did a merger that is being
Oh, that's
uh
just not going to go through now because the FCC is sending it to administrative hell.
sure. But the
But the
fact
point
that you're
is,
big enough to do a merger.
well, and it wasn't even a merger. It was Sinclair buying out their competition. Like, and that's why the FCC is getting on it,
Yeah, the
because that's
monopoly.
what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that they're so big that they can just say, fuck it, I'm going to take these guys over. And yet this wrestling company still has 2006 production values.
And that's the ROH Attack Hour with Rance and Kyle. Do.
Just our usual disclaimer, we don't hate Ring of Honor. We don't. I am an Honor Club subscriber. I don't despise Ring of Honor. I despise the fact that they refuse to grow as a company.
I want them to do better.
Yeah,
I am a WWE homer through and through, but I love wrestling, so it's cool to see other companies do well. But I just don't, for the life of me, understand why this fucking company just
can't
no.
get
They're
together.
they're essentially stuck. Like they're genuinely stuck in the mud. Like they are stuck because
Yeah,
we are on the verge of having main events for pay-per-views with Matt Taven versus Flip Gordon, and I'm cool with that. But that's with everybody else out here. That's not what they should be doing.
but it's also their own fault that Matt Taven versus Flip Gordon isn't a big enough match. Because
Yeah,
Matt
because both of
Taven
them are
should
stars.
be a bigger fucking star.
Yeah, both of them have star potential. Absolutely.
I mean,
So,
Flip's still early in his career, so I understand it with him. But Matt Taven should have been a bigger promoted star for that company.
yep. With Matt Taven in the original Kingdom?
Yeah, the original Kingdom was him, the Bennetts, and Adam Cole. Because Mike Bennett and Adam Cole were tag team champs.
That's crazy.
They were IWGP heavyweight tag team champs, I want to say. Or maybe it was junior heavyweight. Either way.
It might have been Juniors because remember, uh, the Time Splitters had it for a while. Like a whole
Oh,
bunch of
yeah,
different
yeah.
teams fucked around and traded that belt. Let's talk some NXT before we get out of here, man. NXT is, as you know, is my favorite wrestling in the world.
Well, I mean,
Um,
NXT provides a combination of all the good things about all of the federations. There's incredibly high quality in ring action and a commitment to characters and storytelling.
so look, I've been needed to talk to somebody about this, and I talked to Clive about it for a few minutes, but uh, it wasn't verbally, it was through text message. But I need to talk to somebody about this. I know by now you've seen the Undisputed Era versus Mustache Mountain rematch last Wednesday.
That was a good tag team match.
Somebody explain to me, and I know why, but somebody make sense of it to me, of Tyler Bate essentially handing Undisputed Era the titles instead of saying, well, let me go ahead and get in this ring and save my partner, and if I get disqualified, screw it, because we got another shot. We got another shot to keep our titles and face them again.
Um, I mean, I can give you an explanation, but the explanation really is going to come down to it makes Tyler Bate look like a little bitch. But
Right?
but like the story that they're trying to go for is that those two are such baby faces that they would never disrespect the rules, and so he just has to surrender because Trent Seven never would. But I mean, the real story that they told is that Tyler Bates a little bitch, and that when Trent Seven's about to get his leg broke, Tyler Bates just gonna stand there like a little bitch and then throw in the towel.
See, I get the whole British gentleman thing. I really do.
Which is
But
some bullshit because get a British person drunk and we'll talk about gentlemen.
no, you're absolutely right. But they are baby faces, as you said. They're massive baby faces. But here's the caveat to that. Again, I wouldn't be me if I didn't have a caveat. This wasn't just a title defense. This was a grudge title defense. They have been beefing for months.
Well,
Real
and
life beef. Not real
well,
life beef, if you know
and
what I mean.
their British strong style partner Pete Dunne wouldn't have pulled that bullshit.
Yeah, but
The
Pete Dunne is an
cruiserweight's
admitted
ass,
dick.
the cruiserweight's ass would have been Dunne took that motherfucker out.
In fact, if we're being honest, the Bruiser would have been the guy to have, instead of Kyle O'Reilly having Trent in the heel hook, Bruiser would have had Kyle O'Reilly in the heel hook, if we're being honest. Um,
I love that just for Kyle O'Reilly's facial expressions alone because nobody does facial expressions like
Nobody.
Kyle O'Reilly.
Nobody. Kyle O'Reilly. Look, what's funny is when he was in Ring of Honor, I thought Red Dragon in general, but Kyle O'Reilly specifically, was the most bland, boring piece of shit ever. Nothing about him looked. I hated his move set. I hated everything. Nothing about like I would have been happy if he retired. Like when he won the
Ooh,
Ring of Honor title, I was like the company's dead.
diabetic. Like that's a great story.
No, I mean I didn't know that about him. I'm just talking about the character. Yes, his
Kyle,
life story is amazing.
Kyle O'Reilly is a diabetic.
Yes,
So like just the fact that he's wrestling at this high of a level and is as
absolutely.
good as it is at it as he is.
Um, But since he went to WWE, and I'm sure a part of that is my bias for WWE to give him an opportunity. But even when he first debuted, when it was just a singles match against Black, okay, the match was cool, but it did nothing for me. But him joining up with Cole and Fish and now Roddy and just being the most ridiculous person ever has endeared me to this dude so much.
I love the guitar playing with the belt on his way to the ring. Uh,
And the like you said, the facial expressions, or like when they lost the titles to Mustache Mountain, he was like, well, it doesn't count because we're in England. We're still the champs in America, and I haven't slept in like 57 hours and 14 minutes.
well,
So
well,
just
you know what? I'm going to defend you. I'm going to defend you. You are a WWE homer. This is true. But
yeah,
I'll defend you from this perspective. We were just talking about Ring of Honor and their shitty production values and how the company is stuck 10 years in the past. None of that plays to the strengths of someone whose strength is facial expression and telling that kind of a story.
good point.
Like, you don't pick up on those kinds of idiosyncrasies when the production values look like some shit you did with a backyard camcorder.
Great point. I mean, because to your credit, I was the biggest Adam Cole guy because Adam Cole got me involved. But Adam Cole has shown he's gonna be a star wherever he goes.
Oh yeah.
I bought the final battle that had the fight without honor between Adam Cole and Jay Briscoe. I bought that card.
Oh yeah.
I purchased it.
I knew that I would forever love Adam Cole the first time they did one of those locker room it's story time with Adam Cole.
He's so good at that, dog. Those are so great.
Yes. Like yeah. It's story time with Adam Cole, baby.
So okay, so let's try to put together the card for Takeover, if you will, because it's coming up here in a few weeks, much faster than we think. So I am assuming we're gonna have a Mustache Mountain versus Undisputed Era,
Something.
grudge, something grudge match for the tag titles. I'm thinking
Yeah.
we're gonna see Ricochet and Adam Cole for the North American title. Is that fair?
I mean, that's probably fair. That's probably fair. The only title match that I'm absolutely for sure, other than the Mustache Mountain one, is Alistair versus Chamba.
Well, I was waiting to get to that last because I have some questions about that. I read the spoilers for the
Okay.
last uh for the last tapings, which the last show will be tonight. tomorrow night. It's the last show on the last tapings, and apparently it was Kyrie who won. Sorry, spoiler alert.
It's
But
fine.
so it's supposed to be at least, and as of these last tapings, because they're taping again, if not tomorrow, Thursday, for the until going up to Brooklyn. But so far, it's supposed to be Kyrie versus Shayna. Okay, Kyrie, get the new anchor move is great. She's always been someone to get the crowd behind her, and she's beaten Shayna, so there's a story there. I'm cool with that.
I mean,
Um,
as far as I'm concerned, that'll be a good match. But as far as I'm concerned, it's on hold until Bianca is involved because that's my new favorite female on NXT.
well, here's the thing.
NXT. NXT.
I don't want Bianca involved until Candice or Dakota beats Shayna, because Bianca needs to be the bully to take it from them.
Oh, but I mean, and I loved that video promo that they did with her talking about why the hell would I be scared about some bitch who can't get out of her husband's business and
And then
some crazy ass fangirl.
I loved how she was about to say some female. She called herself.
You
It just
just
made
the
it even more real. I
sass.
loved it. Yeah.
Oh,
And that was real life on the honeymoon. Like that was real life from the boat.
yeah. Bianca Belair is a future star. Like,
Oh my God, yes. She's
uh,
gonna be.
and that's a gimmick. That's kind of like Sasha when she was the boss. That's the
It's very
kind of
similar. Yeah.
gimmick where it'll succeed. It'll translate in a way like she's charismatic enough that she'll find a way to get herself over.
You know what I love? You know what I love about Bianca, and this is forgive me in my heterosexual desires, but I
Okay.
love when Bianca does her little hood rat little dance. Like that's the sexiest shit to me. When she gets the stank face and just pops her hands and just shakes, like that's the sexiest stuff to me in the world. Like I like,
What I
bruh.
love about Bianca is, she's one of the rare women who uses the power game.
Oh my God,
Her
yes.
set is so power based. She
The
does.
clean and
It
jerk she
reminds me.
does with them.
Well,
Oh
it
my
reminds me of
God.
China. Like, I mean, she's not as big as China, but it reminds me of China in terms of she's doing gorilla presses and military presses. Her
Dog,
finisher is an alley oop power bomb. Like,
dog. She cleans and jerks people.
yeah,
Like
like
the deadlift she does, or whatever it's called. I'm not a bodybuilder, but you know what I'm talking about. When she
yeah.
grabs them from the ground and just, my God.
And you don't see that with the women, and it's even better because she's like solid muscle, but she's not bigger than all the other women,
She's just
so you
stiff.
don't expect that looking at her. And
Yep.
what makes that so great is it also allows her to sell for the other women because she's not considerably bigger than they are.
Realistically, yes.
She's just really fucking powerful.
She had a match with Dakota Kai that was on the quote unquote pre-show, but the after show of take the past takeover,
Hmm.
and she picked Dakota Kai up for a vertical suplex, and she slingshotted her off of one of the ropes, and she put her back up, and she walked to another rope, and she slingshotted her, and picked her back up, and walked to the third rope, and slingshotted her, but Dakota jumped out of it. But it was all in the span of about 45 seconds. And I'm watching, and mind you, I'm jaded. I'm 30 years old. I've been watching wrestling for over 2/4 of my life, at least 20 plus years. So I've seen everything you essentially think you can see, right? I was in awe. Like that's one of the most awe-inspiring things I've ever seen. Forget a woman. If Bobby Lashley did that tomorrow, I'd be shocked.
Oh
Like
yeah,
just the
power game is always impressive.
God. Okay, but yes, we both agree that Bianca should will be the star of this eventually. But I would like to see Shayna's story end to a real baby. Whether it's Kyrie, whether it's Candice, whether it's Dakota, I would like to see it into a real
Do you
baby.
think they're gonna hot shot Shayna to the main roster?
Shayna will be on the main roster before WrestleMania. Absolutely, yes.
Well, I wouldn't consider before WrestleMania hot shotting. I'm talking like, do you think they're trying to like pull her ass up
Oh no,
in the short term?
no, 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 no. I don't think so yet. No. Plus, you also have to remember Marina and Jessamine Duke have signed, so there's still something they can tell with those three.
I mean,
Um,
I think that the story to tell with Shayna, like you were saying, have a babyface go over her. The obvious story to tell is Dakota Kai overcomes her fear of
absolutely.
Shayna Baszler and finally reaches that mountaintop. And then Bianca Belair beats the dog shit out of Dakota Kai.
I would love that too, but if you watched last week and saw that confrontation between
Her and Candice.
Shayna and Candice, and we know, and here's the difference
I
between
mean,
Dakota and
Candice will be
Candice.
forever over because number one, Candice is great, but number two,
Yes.
she's Mrs. Gargano.
Well, no, no, no. Johnny is Mr. Lorraine.
Right. You know,
You're
I'm
right.
with that. I'm with that. I fucks with Candice going back to World's Cutest Tag Team. So
I'm
like,
saying, right, like get that. That's real talk. Like Candice is
those of you that aren't familiar
yes,
with Candice's outside work, like just watch the Bucks versus the World's Cutest Tag Team.
yeah, one,
Like that
yeah,
in and of itself, like, and they wanted to do that for All In before Candice got signed. Like the
hmm
Bucks had talked about their original goal was to redo that match at All In and have it be Joey and Candice versus them, but then Candice got signed.
yep. But the difference between Candice and Dakota to me is Dakota isn't a star. What I mean
No,
by isn't a
it's not a
star,
no.
right? I don't have to explain that, do I?
No, Dakota's a
Okay,
depth player for sure. Like
okay,
Dakota is um I'll use a former Divas champion as an example. Dakota is an Alicia Fox. She's got a role that she plays,
I think she's
but
more
she's
than
a
Alicia
utility
for
player.
sure. She's more than Alicia because Alicia's forgotten
Alicia's
a lot of the time.
capable of being more than they use her for, though, is my thing. Like,
I don't know. In ring, sure. In ring, absolutely. But in terms of character, I don't know, dog. That's about the most you can get out of it. I think. I think Alicia is in the ring, and in the ring, she's definitely not the same. She's definitely much better than this person about to say. But in terms of importance on the roster, her and Rosa Mendez was like neck and neck, dog.
oh, Alicia, like, she ain't shit on the roster in terms of the roster positioning. But what I meant is Alicia ain't going nowhere. She's been there forever. She's
Sure.
always found a way to find herself a spot. I don't think because I don't see Dakota Kai. If we're talking main roster, like that's a character that's going to get lost real fast, real fast.
Yeah, on that.
Like,
Yeah,
that's a character
definitely.
that's going to be slotted behind. Not only is she going to be slotted behind the girls that are total packages, she's going to be slotted behind the Carmellas and the Alexas that are better characters than they are wrestlers. Not to shit on them, not
Well,
to shit on
everybody
them
is.
because I don't hate them as much as a lot of the IWC does. I see exactly the purpose that they serve.
Hmm.
But like a Dakota Kai is going to forever be behind a Carmella because Carmella's a character that's interesting.
Absolutely. Um. So yeah. So that's that. But let's get to this. Let's get to this main. This not main event, but this NXT Championship feud. So Ciampa and Alster are supposed to wrestle not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, I think, right?
Can we
Or
talk
the
about how
week after.
Ciampa is really exposing Aleister Black's weaknesses?
Ciampa's not exposing them. Alster Black's weaknesses have been glaring the moment he smiled like a little kid when he beat Andrade.
Like,
Alster has
yeah, but
shown
like,
that he is a chaser and not a champ.
well, yeah, and I agree with you that Aleister Black's weaknesses have always been obvious. But Champa is exposing them, I think, to the wider fan base. Like
Maybe so, maybe so. I've noticed
I
it for a
I
while.
I don't disagree with you that Aleister Black's weaknesses have always been somewhat glaring, and they're the same weaknesses that anybody who doesn't ever fucking talk is gonna have. Eventually, they either have to fucking talk or they have to be interesting.
Well, Alster was interesting until he talked. The darkness, I think the darkness gimmick works if you stay fucking dark. But when he talks like a normal human being.
But if you're gonna have someone do that kind of a gimmick and you want them to stay dark, then they've got to have a mouthpiece, which is fine.
Okay,
I'm
can
cool with
you're absolutely right because we are in an age where you can't nope you can't not talk. You're absolutely right. Can I give you an I can I throw a name out there for a perfect mouthpiece for him?
Sure. I love managers, so sure.
James Mitchell.
Father James.
It fits
Father
right.
James. It does fit. Does Father James still do his thing? Like, he old as fuck.
He came back and did
I
something
know
with the
you
Abyss a
could do it
couple years
in
ago in
NXT.
TNA.
Like, you could do it in NXT because, Paul Ellering proved a lot of times the old guys will do NXT work because it really only requires them to work like 2 days a month and then a takeover every now and then.
And here's the thing, Alistair is not a bad talker. The problem is the stuff Alistair says doesn't match the gimmick.
And you know what I put that on though? You know what I put that on though?
Hunter?
I put that on the constraints of WWE's promo style because of the way that they like even in NXT, the way that they script out what you're supposed to say and how you're supposed to say it, it comes with the baby faces, it comes across so much more inauthentically. Because it's a lot easier to fake pettiness, it's a lot easier to fake hatred, it's a lot easier to fake heel tendencies than it is to fake these like goody goody cookie cutter shits that they always have the baby faces cut.
So you're absolutely right. That is a problem that they've had for over a decade. But with Alistair, I don't think that's the case because his material isn't standard WWE fare. It's definitely different, but it just isn't matching him. And then his delivery doesn't match. And okay, let me give you an example. When Lars Sullivan opens his mouth, do you see this big hulk of a man, this massive, essentially this 6'2", 6'3", 300-pound muscle, right? And he opens his mouth, and you hear that I'm just it doesn't match, right? It's essentially the same thing with Ouster. You have this guy who's essentially a walking demon, right? He's the mix between good and evil, but walks on the dark side, right? He's like a Grim Reaper esque type character, right? Who's dark and is always fighting his demons and this that he fights his demons so much he had his demon tatted on his back, right? And all this stuff, sure, okay. And then he
But his voice
talks.
sounds like Clive without the accent.
Yes, it just doesn't match. It doesn't match, and that's not his
I like
fault.
your King Clive.
That's not his fault. That's not his fault. You cannot help what your voice is. That's not his fault. But I'm just saying. So if we know that, don't change the gimmick because it works for him. And he
You
has to
know,
talk, but he needs to have something
you
different
know
to
what could have
say.
made it work better? You know what could have made it work better?
What's that?
He's Dutch. Let him just speak in Dutch and have his manager be his fucking translator.
Well, if we
Because,
had a manager, then clearly the problem would be fixed. I'm assuming
well,
we're never
yeah,
going to have one.
yeah. What I'm saying is, okay, so his voice sounds, yeah, but Dutch is such a harder sounding language because it's more Germanic.
Hmm.
So it would make him sound much more like demonic-y. And so then the manager could really serve more as like the go-between, kind of like when Armando Estrada would talk for Umaga, and Umaga would just like ramble incoherently, and then
Oh,
Armando would step in and be like,
haha!
"Yeah, that
I
kind of
got you
shit."
one better. The Authors of Pain talk in Albanian and Salmani is Armenian. Akam is Punjabi. They talk in their native tongue when they beat people up, but then Paul Ellering was talking normal. Or when they cut promos now without Paul Ellering, they'll say something in English and then spit that hot shit in Albanian or in Punjabi. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that. But it finally hit me what the problem with Alster is. Alster's gimmick is that he's supposed to be demonic, right? Or essentially, right?
Hmm.
But he acts like a goth. That's the problem.
Yeah, he has no powers. He's just got a really. He's kind of like Finn. He's got a really cool entrance, but he doesn't have the demon.
And I don't know how you rectify that because I think the gimmick is great and it'll get over like hotcakes with the main roster, but there's definitely something missing. And when you have a nuanced top of his craft character like Tommaso Ciampa
Best heel in wrestling.
against you,
Best heel in wrestling.
see the beauty of what Alistair's had to deal with is Alistair really jumped. Like Alistair really took that leap when he fought Velveteen, and that match was more
We
about
talked
Velveteen
about
than
how
him.
he has had some great people to fucking feud with.
He's had
Go
great
from
feuds.
Andrade to Velveteen.
to Adam Cole.
to Adam Cole. Now you're fucking rocking
Yes,
Ciampa. Like,
absolutely. So he's and put Lars in there, and while that's not the match that the IWC wanted to see, it
but I
was a
mean,
great feud
you
for
find
him.
out he has that broken fucking jaw. Like, at least that makes that kick make more sense.
Well, turns out I hate to I hate to you know show that there's no rabbit in the hat, but his jaw isn't broken. They made that up, and they have him off selling it. His jaw really isn't broken, but it just was a better story. Yeah, sorry. Still,
My feelings on him.
still, the story's still great. Um, but so they're wrestling in a couple weeks. Champa and Almas. Very clearly, Gargano's going to interfere in this match. So I don't know that we're getting Tommaso Ciampa versus Aleister Black at Takeover. I think it's probably going to be a triple threat, but I want to see uh I'm Andrade, not Andrade. Aleister wrestles EC3 or somebody else. Let Tommaso and Gargano be done. Give them Hell in a Cell. Give them 3 stages of Hell. Something to end this for good, so they can be done with each other and move on. Because they need a definitive finish in their feud. Unless you want to put them with other people and draw this shit out to WrestleMania. But this is the last Brooklyn. Go all out, right?
Better go all out. This is where it all started. If you want to talk about NXT really catching fire,
Absolutely. Um, but so that's why I'm confused. Because everything is leading towards triple threat, and I would love that. But the problem with the triple threat is that much like the triple threat in at WrestleMania 20 with Michaels, Hunter, and Benoit,
the
Benoit was the odd
about
person out.
the champion, the story's about
Two
the other.
guys who hate each other.
Yeah, and he's just the third wheel.
Absolutely. And he's a hell of a third wheel who happens to be the champ as well. But I would much rather Andrade, who not damn Andrade. I'm sorry, I got almost on the brain. Tranquilo. Um,
Alistair.
Aleister Black. Thank you. Uh, I would rather him get the not only the moment but the platform he deserves to defend against in a one-on-one or his own feud, even if it is a triple threat that involves him and strictly him. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the one thing I want for Takeover, it's not going to happen because Takeovers are so formulaic, is I would love to see them break the formula this time, just because it's the last Brooklyn. But they won't do it. There's a formula. There'll be all the titles on the line, and then there'll be a grudge match, and that's Takeover.
By the way, Takeover is extra hour now, so it's not gonna be 5 matches anymore. They'll probably add about two more.
You know, I'd be fine with that because it would be different. Like that's what I'm saying. Like the takeovers have fallen into this formula. Like the matches normally deliver. I'm not saying that takeovers suck. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just like the formula is predictable. They will have at least 3 title matches and they will have one, maybe 2 grudge matches.
Well, but it's changed now because now we have 4 major titles.
Well, now we have 4 major
Yeah,
titles, but unless all 4 titles are on the line at Brooklyn, they've not all been defended on one show.
no, they have not. You are correct, but what was the card at the last Takeover? Takeover
At the
Chicago. What was the
last
card?
takeover, it was the tag titles were on the line, the women's title was on the line, the NXT title was on the line. Then you had Dream Ricochet
Dream
and
Ricochet. That
uh,
was the other one. Yeah. Okay.
Dream Ricochet, and I forget what the 5th match was.
I do too, but I do remember that there was one other match that Cole didn't wrestle because this match was big enough. So okay, that's right. Um, I remember now. Yeah. Um, this is all I know. I can't wait to read the spoilers and see what they have cooked up for the next few weeks before Brooklyn, because like one of the highlights of my month is the night NXT does their spoilers, does their tapings, because like I love reading it and seeing the craziness that they've decided to do. Then it's just it's almost as interesting as watching to me, because like you said, NXT is truly the truly all the best things of all the companies. It's the grandiose, it's the grandioseness, if that's a word, and the sports entertainment of WWE. It's the everything matters and the in ring prowess of Ring of Honor, not Ring of Honor of New Japan. It has all the top indie guys. Like it really is the best of everything. So
Oh, I agree. Like I totally agree. I am very interested to see what the card's going to be. Because this is the last Brooklyn for a long time. Because SummerSlam's not in Brooklyn next year. Um,
no.
well, I shouldn't
Now,
say for a long time. They'll do another one next year at WrestleMania.
that's what I'm about to say. Now, so before we get out of here, I can see Hunter saying, "Well, they took the Garden from us. Let's leave Champa and Gargano in a Hell in a Cell, say for example, for that Brooklyn, and really end our Brooklyn takeover run with the bang." I can see that, and then doing a triple threat now. Like, don't you think? Because I know it's not in the same time period. It's not SummerSlam weekend, but still, it still is a Brooklyn takeover, and this show is going to be huge because somebody stole the Garden from them for the first time in decades.
I mean, I can see them going real hard at Takeover for WrestleMania weekend because I do firmly expect it to be in Brooklyn because with the Garden hosting the Ring of Honor New Japan show, the only other Coliseum aside from Barclays in New York is Nassau on Long Island, and they damn sure ain't running a show at Nassau Coliseum.
Right, but it was always going to be in Brooklyn because they don't run TV at the Garden anymore anyway because it's too expensive. But they're going to do Raw and SmackDown and Hall of Fame at the Barclays, so of course they're going to do Takeover there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can anticipate them going big, but they always go big WrestleMania weekend for Takeover. So,
They do, but what I'm saying is Gargano Ciampa most people expect to end now because it's the last official Brooklyn takeover. But we have this other Brooklyn takeover, which is now of heightened importance because of the Garden takeover, like real life takeover, not takeover show. So maybe they push that finale to that show, possibly.
I mean, it's a possibility. I
Yeah.
won't say that it's not a possibility. I don't pretend to know what Hunter's thinking, but he's earned the benefit of the doubt. So I'll give it to him.
I hear you yawning, man. I'm getting sleepy too, man. Let's get on out of here, brother. Tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter. I am at Dr. Schmores. That is capital D as in doctor and capital S as in s'mores. No periods, no spaces.
And of course, you can find me at It's Ray Cash, REY as in Mysterio, CASH as dollars. Um, I will be on Ricky and Clive tomorrow. We are doing an Extreme Rules review. So Ricky is on vacation this week. They can't be in this. Apparently, they can't be on the same podcast at the same time because 3 weeks now, either one or not, neither of them. But yeah, I'll be on this week, and then Ricky will be back next week. And then you will have another episode of The Outsider's Edge next week. I mean, not next week, but sometime later this week, probably Thursday, with me and Carl. So yeah, you're gonna get your if you missed me, you're gonna get your fill of me. Um, but yeah, before we go, man, anything else you want to tell the people? Anything else on your mind?
Um, no, shout out again to Ricky and Clive. Ricky thinks I'm trying to take over his podcast, but he's going on vacation, and I'm not the one guest hosting. So I know what's up with you, bro.
Well, I have petitioned Ricky and Clive to change the show from the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show to Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show featuring Rance. I'm on there so much.
I mean, it's fine. We'll all just get together and do a big mid-year show, and we'll be the coolest mid-year show on the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
And nobody will get a word in edgewise because five people talking on a podcast is hell.
Well, five people, and three of them are Yumi and Brian.
Ooh, good luck with that. Yeah. And Ricky talks more than all of us.
Yeah, but in our defense, they're British, so we can always just talk over them, and they'll just politely take it because they're British.
Dog, Clive does that so much. Brian, like when I talk to Brian on the pods, like he just be letting Ricky just go, and I'm like, bro, you were talking. It's okay. Go ahead.
Nah, man, it's British. Like British people are very weird about their social conventions. There's a whole Netflix series about it. It's called Very British Problems.
So you're explaining to me why Tyler Bate did why he threw the towel.
Yeah,
That's why.
it's weird British social conventions. I mean, 10 points for Gryffindor.
I finally did one of those things. Apparently, I'm a Ravenclaw.
Oh, that's cool. I'm a Hufflepuff.
Okay. I still don't know what the other ones mean, but I just know it said I'm Ravenclaw. So yeah, I'm going with that.
Ravenclaw is the smart house, Hufflepuff is the loyalty house, Gryffindor is the bravery house, and Slytherin is the douchebag house.
Well, okay, makes a lot of sense. Perfect. So there you go. There's your Harry Potter for you guys if you wanted that. Have a good night. Thank you for listening, and we will hear from you again. We will talk to you guys soon, and must mean soon, like probably tomorrow. So yeah, take care, man.